As I always say, to be taken seriously by the luxury car shopper these days, you have to have a very compelling luxury SUV option. The luxury SUV segment as a whole is very competitive, very cutthroat. There are a ton of choices to pick from, including the Audi Q7 right here. Now, the Audi Q7 has received somewhat of a significant update for the 2020 model year, and today I'll give you a tour of it, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think about it. But before I do, make sure you hit subscribe. All right, I'm waiting. All right, let's get to it. As always, before we get into everything else, let's take a closer look at some of the cool and interesting things that you should know about the 2020 Audi Q7. Audi's lights are some of the best in the game. Just take a closer look at these headlights with the indicators on. They look very, very stylish, and the same goes for the taillights. Here they are with the indicators on, and they also look very stylish. Now, of course, when we talk about cool things about an Audi, we can't skip over the virtual cockpit display. It's one of the best digital instrument gauge cluster displays in the industry, and it's standard here on the Audi Q7. And yes, I know the check engine light is on. Obviously, I have it in accessory mode, so don't start commenting saying, hey, look, the Audi's messing up already. Now, usually cool gauge cluster displays like this can be a little difficult to use, but this one is pretty simple. You have two views, including when the dials are larger and when they're smaller. Obviously, this is the coolest view when the map is in full screen mode, but you can circle through other information, including your vehicle information, your media, your phone, and then obviously the full screen map is my favorite view. Other than that, you have virtual cockpit display themes, including classic, which is the one you see here. You have dynamic, which is the one that you see right here. And then you have sport, which is this one right here, where the dials just look a little bit more sportier, but very similar to classic. Now, moving on, the coolest thing about the Audi Q7 for the 2020 model year is that it gets the new MMI infotainment system with dual touchscreen displays. Now, I'm going to break this up into two parts, including the top and the bottom. So let's start with the top. The top is where most of the action is. You have the option to circle through your radio, media, phone, navigation. Then you have a bunch of other vehicle settings that you can go through and customize here. One of the coolest things that I liked about this a lot is when you hold your finger over any menu item, it does a little animation. It's these tiny details that make Audi very, very cool, and I appreciate these tiny details quite a bit. Now, the bottom screen is mainly your climate control, along with some other vehicle settings like auto stop, start, hill, descent, and a bunch of other things. You can select your drive modes from here, but it's mainly your climate control, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, there are moments when both screens will function together. For example, when you're entering a destination into the navigation, the bottom screen will turn into a writing pad, and you can write wherever you want to go. Now, most automakers will let you only enter one letter at a time, but over here, you can enter the whole word just in one move, and it will enter your destination. Dunkin' Donuts, 1 mile away. All right, pretty cool. Now let's dive a little deeper into this because there's a couple of cool random things that I discovered while messing around here. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Let's go over a few. Now, while this whole dual screen MMI infotainment system is very cool, it's very prone to fingerprints because you're going to be touching it all day. Audi has thought of that. Under settings, under display and brightness, go to MMI. There's something called screen cleaning mode, and what that will do is turn off the displays and lock them so you can wipe them down. I'd probably be activating that every single day because I hate fingerprints anywhere in my car. Now, most of these touchscreen climate control things can get very, very annoying because you have to tap every single time to change the temperature or the fan speed, but not here. Audi has thought of that. So if you put your finger here, slide it out, you can actually just slide and glide through all the temperature settings, and you can do the same for the fan speed. That's very cool. Glad they thought of that. Now, here's something that I accidentally discovered while just messing around going through this in great detail. I have major OCD, so I want to make sure that my temperature is always an odd number and that it's always synced. Now, you can just use a sync button right here, very straightforward, or you can pinch to turn on sync and turn off sync. I don't know why they have that option, because I'd rather use a button. That's very cool. Next up, here's an example of Audi giving you something that you probably didn't know that you needed. So you go under Vehicle, go under Climate Control, go to Settings. You can actually control the temperature of the footwell depending on the temperature of your car. For both the driver and the passenger, you can make it either cooler or warmer, so you can be at total comfort. That's crazy that they thought of that. Very, very nice. Now, most cars have a shortcut button on the steering wheel, and you can assign any item that you want in the car to that shortcut button. On Audis, that button looks like an asterisk right there, and you can customize that by going into Vehicle, Settings and Service, Steering Wheel button. I have it set to turning the steering wheel heating on and off. because then I don't have to push this button here and then turn on the heated steering from there. I could just do it directly from the steering. Next up, depending on how you equipped your Audi Q7, you have a various different amount of driver assist features, and you can set the intensity level between maximum, individual, and basic. The coolest thing here, though, definitely is the camera game. Now, as standard, you have a bunch of different views that you can pick from, including front view in different angles, top view, rear view in different angles. But the coolest, obviously, is the 3D view. This is optional, and Audi does it the best by far. Their image mapping technology is insane. You can just spin the car around all day long. I could just do this all day long. It's very, very cool. Love this whole 3D image mapping thing going on here. I don't know who actually sits there and uses this to calculate how they park the car, but it is pretty useful. So not only is Audi's exterior lighting game one of the best in the industry, but the interior lighting game, the ambient lighting game here is very, very cool. We have a bunch of different colors to pick from, but you can also go under individual and change the lighting for different areas, including the surface and the lines. So say I make the surface, let's make it red. That's what it would look like. I can't show it to you right now because it's full daytime, so I won't be able to show it to you. Now, one cool hidden thing that I found while I was folding the second row seats are these buttons right here. So say, for example, that you folded the third row seats down during a previous trip and you forgot to put them back up. And then say during your next trip you do need to use the third row, you don't have to trouble yourself and walk all the way to the back to the cabin area to put them back up. You can do it from right here. That's super cool that they actually thought of that. But hey, if you do want to walk all the way to the back, you have the same buttons in the cargo area to fold and put the third row seats right back up. And while I'm back here, I also want to point out another set of buttons that will allow you to raise or lower the height of the Audi Q7 so you can make life a little easier for yourself when unloading or loading cargo. Pricing for the 2020 Audi Q7 Premium 45 starts at $54,800. The Prestige 55 here starts at $71,200. The SQ7 starts right under $85,000. As tested here, you're looking at over $74,000, but you can also package this all the way up to $95,000 if you want all the bells and whistles. Now let's hop into the power and performance. Power for the Audi Q7 55 here comes from a 3-liter turbocharged V6, making 335 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque, and that's made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now for 2020, you do also have the Audi SQ7, which makes 500 horsepower and costs right under $85,000, but I'm betting a lot of the Q7 shoppers will go for the V6 model right here. Of course, when it comes to 0 to 60, the SQ7 is much faster, doing 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. The V6 model here will do it in 5.7 seconds with a top speed of 130 miles an hour. Now, when it comes to drive modes, you have the option to pick between off-road, all-road, comfort, auto, dynamic, and individual. My test model here also comes with the optional air suspension, and that will raise itself up and down depending on what drive mode you're in. Very cool, a lot of options. I like to keep it in comfort or dynamic. That's really about it. I don't do much off-roading or all-roading. Now quickly, let's talk about fuel economy for those that do care about it. You get 17 city, 21 highway. You have a 22.5 gallon tank capacity. I'm averaging, after about 4 days of driving, a total of 16.4 miles a gallon, so not terrible. Moving forward, let's take a closer look at the exterior design of the 2020 Audi Q7 because there have been some minor upgrades to bring this up to date with the current Audi design language. The 2020 Audi Q7 gets a lot of the design elements that you've seen in the new Audi Q8. Starting in the front end, you have the giant Audi single frame grille that really makes this thing stand out quite a bit and definitely resembles the front end of the Q8. Now, originally I wasn't a fan of the side profile of the Q7. It kind of looked like a wagon slash minivan, but now it looks a little bit better. You have 19-inch wheels with all-season tires as standard. My Q7 Prestige test model here has 20-inch wheels and it looks super cool, but you can also upgrade to 22-inch wheels for an extra $2,000. And then on the back, you also don't have any major changes except for the new taillights that give this thing a lot of character. Overall, the design of the Audi Q7 is pretty nice with a good balance of luxury and sport, but it does look a little bland in this glacier white metallic color here. Now, before we move on, let's dig into the cargo capacity really quick. You can pop the trunk by using the button right under the Audi logo, and that opens it up to 14.5 cubic feet behind the third row, With the third row folded, you're looking at about 37.5 cubic feet, and with all the rows folded, you're looking at about 70 cubic feet, which is plenty of space for a large family to put anything that they want in there. Let's hop inside the 2020 Audi Q7 because that's where most of the major changes are. It follows the Audi Q8 with a round of updates, including the dual screen MMI infotainment system that I just gave you a tour of. Audi is definitely one of the leaders in the segment when it comes to offering you a quality built cabin. You have a bunch of soft touch materials everywhere, and my test model here has real wood grain trim. That looks super nice. But forget all that for a second because the Audi Q7 comes standard with a lot of things that you would otherwise have to pay extra for if you're shopping for its competitors. For example, you get standard 3-zone climate control, which you can upgrade to 4-zone climate control if you wish. You also get real leather heated front seats. Now, this is not fake leather like some of the rivals use. This is real leather starting from the base model and up. My favorite part, you also get a standard panoramic sunroof, which is quite an expensive option on some of the other competitors here. You also have power 50-50 split folding third row seats, which are standard automatic folding seats. That's pretty cool. And again, the 12.3-inch virtual cockpit instrument cluster display and the MMI dual infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is all standard, and that's simply amazing. I can't tell you how awesome that is, that Audi gives you all these things as standard option on all Q7 trims. Now, through the addition of some packages and other options, you can add a heated steering wheel, heated rear seats so the rear passengers can stay a little comfortable, cooled front seats, massaging seats, an upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system which can run you almost $5,000, a wireless charger, and much more. Now, since this is a 3-row SUV, we do have to talk about second and third row legroom. Let's hop into the second row. You have 39 inches of legroom back here. I'm about 6 foot tall. That's my seating position. As you can see, I still have plenty of legroom. Let's talk about some other things. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you do get 3-zone climate control as standard, but you can upgrade to 4-zone climate control, which means the front row passengers get a dual zone and the second row passengers get a dual zone, so they can control their temperatures separately from one another. My test model also comes with a cold weather package, and that gives you heated second row seats. And it's too hot to have them on, so I'm going to turn them off. And then to wrap it up back here, you have 2 USB ports for the second row passengers to charge their phones or their tablets. You have a really weak pocket back here. It's like a net. I don't know what that is. And then you also have peasant and hater blockers back here. They're manual. They're not automatic, but that's first world problems right there for you. As usual, third row seats aren't as roomy at all, but you can slide the second row front and back to give your third row passengers a little bit more room. I'm doing this with the phone in my hand, so, sorry for the shaky footage. But yeah, as you get the idea, you can slide the second row forward if third row passengers need more legroom. So now I'm going to hop into the third row with the camera in my hand, so it's going to be a little shaky, so sorry for the shaky footage. I did move the middle part all the way up to show you how much legroom you do get with the extra moving second row. To get into the second row, it's not that hard. You pull this latch here, the top part folds down, clicks into place. See this little push thing right here? You push that, pull this up, and that will lock into place, and now you can hop into the third row. Oh man, it's not easy for somebody 6 foot to do this, but yeah, once you get back here, pull this down, and I'm not going to pull it down all the way because my legs will get crushed, and that's how much leg room you have with that second row moved up. It's not roomy at all back here. If you hate somebody, put them back here. If there's a kid, put them back here, but a 6 foot adult, don't put them back here. It's torture. Now, before I give you my opinion on how it is to drive the 2020 Audi Q7, let me point out a few random things that I love to show all of you. There's a total of 6 cup holders, not counting the bottle holders on the sides of the doors. Really cool thing about the front cup holders, here are 2 cup holders, but you see the key. This is the Audi key for the Q7. That's their new key. There's a holder right there for the key. That's very cool. Now, second row also gets 2 cup holders in the center armrest. That's a large Dunkin' Donuts drink. As you can see, it's having some trouble fitting in there. And then the third row also gets 2 cup holders back here, also very tiny. Now, a lot of brands do this whole welcoming sound thing, but Audi probably has the best welcome sound in the game. Let me just give you a quick listen. Thank you for welcoming me, Audi. And at nighttime when you turn it on, the ambient lighting does do a nice little dance to that sound. It's very cool. Let's hear the door open and close sound on the 2020 Audi Q7. This one here does have soft closed doors. Very cool. Here it is from the outside. And from the inside, pretty solid. And last but not least, let's hear how the horn sounds on the 2020 Audi Q7. Pretty solid. Now that I've given you a tour of the 2020 Audi Q7, let me give you my opinion on what I think about the new updated 2020 model year. Let's get to it. Now, I've tested a lot of luxury SUVs in this segment, including the BMW X5, the Cadillac XT6, Mercedes-Benz GLE, Lexus RX, Lincoln Aviator, and the Volvo XC90, and many, many more. I've always been a fan of the Audi Q7, but after spending a week with it, I'm even more impressed. What's most impressive to me is the long list of standard features in here that are otherwise optional when you go for competitors, like the Virtual Cockpit, the dual-screen MMI infotainment, the panoramic sunroof, heated front seats, 3-zone climate control, the list goes on and on. A lot of those options are actually pricey options when it comes to the rivals. In terms of ride quality, the Audi Q7 is extremely smooth. It has a very butter smooth ride quality. The turbocharged V6 here is more than enough power for a lot of the shoppers in this segment for their daily needs. Of course, I'm really looking forward to testing the new Audi SQ7 with 500 horsepower, and that should be a very interesting option for those that still want a lot of power from their family SUV. My top picks in this segment include the BMW X5, the Mercedes-Benz GLE, Lexus RX, Volvo XC90, and of course, the Audi Q7 right here. Either way, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Omar Drives. Make sure you follow me on TikTok at Omar Drives until that's here, because it's probably going to die off soon. I'll see you next week. Take care. Peace. Hit that subscribe button.